Anybody who knows very much about me knows that I'm a fan of competition in the space of industry. I'm a fan. I think it's a good idea, and I think as a rule, breaking entities up, even if they appear to be monopolistic, is not a great idea. I think there are better ways to deal with that. That having been said, today I want to talk about the concept of breaking them up on today's Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I am your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Thursday, the 27th of May of 2021. I'm glad to have you here, whether it's on Rumble, on YouTube, on the podcast, Rumble being my favorite platform as a rule. And again, the subject today is breaking them up. And what I wanted to do, let me go ahead and read through my notes real quick to give you an idea sort of where I am. I'm not saying I'm some sort of fan of breaking up monopolistic entities. That didn't want to come out. That said, the idea of doing so will cause them to disappear is rubbish, in my opinion. That's my view. The phone company was compartmentalized as a result of monopoly legislation or similar. Did that sort of telecommunications cease to exist as a result? I argue not. Why didn't that happen? If you were to break up Facebook, for example, it would be necessary to form inroads between the sub-entities, right? This is why that didn't happen, because they formed inroads between the sub-entities. That's really what happened. Nobody's saying it would be something that would happen in a day. Again, I'm not saying that I necessarily believe in breaking up monopolies, duopolies, or whatever. My only point is breaking them up does not mean they will die. Now, I will say that these days the idea of breaking up major entities is pretty toothless in my view. I understand that people tried to enact that sort of thing against Microsoft, and how did that work? How does not at all sound? Didn't really do anything for anybody for that to happen. And I'm pretty sure Facebook would end up being equally bad somehow. They would find some way to essentially franchise themselves, or whatever you want to say, to make it so that they would continue to do the heinous things that they're doing at this moment. And that's why I don't think it's a great idea. Okay? I think there are better ways to handle this. And I'll give you a little bit of an idea here. In my opinion, most of the time, the best thing you can do is ignore Facebook, ignore Twitter, ignore all of these major platforms that are not taking you seriously or allowing you to speak freely on their platforms when you're not really breaching their terms of service or whatever. Okay? Stop treating them like they're the only game in town. Because if you do that, guess what? They'll be the only game in town. For those people that are happy with them, they're not going to stop using them because other people complain, as a rule. No, they're happy with them. For those of us that don't care for them particularly much, we're going to be the ones that are going to find other ways to do business. Now, one of the options to that, as I say, is breaking up companies that get too big and gain a whole lot of power. But the reality is this. Parler's back, boys and girls. Parler's back. And I say that from a perspective of somebody who's been very guarded in my view of Parler for a while now. And I recognize that they've lost some things along the way, and maybe it'll cause them to not be horribly successful in what they do. But Parler is back. And I say that because I can get to them. And not only can I get to them, but I can get to them as who I was before their space was taken away. I can get to them. I can deal with them these days. So they're back. Will they be the platform everybody's looking for to replace something like Twitter? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe Minds will do better than they will. Minds has managed to survive all this time without anybody managing to take them out. Now, granted, in certain senses, people look at a lot of the people on Minds as being, quote, kooky or whatever, whether or not they really are. And some are, I'm sure. Come on, some on Twitter are kooky, some on Facebook are kooky, some on Minds are bound to be kooky. How many? I don't know. How large a group. But here's what I'm getting at. Just because I don't really support that idea doesn't mean it shouldn't be possible to do it. Now, you have to have strength in order to do it. You have to work from a position of strength in order to make it happen. And I believe that's what happened when people try to basically break up, not Facebook, but Microsoft, is they operated from a position of weakness, and the fact that they were operating from that was obvious, and Microsoft had good lawyers and did a pretty darn good job of defending themselves against being broken up. But on top of that, they just basically refused to do a whole bunch of stuff. I could name you some things, but I don't want to get heavy into details. For the most part, that doesn't matter these days. And for me, it matters even less. I'm doing almost everything I'm doing on a Linux platform. I don't care about Microsoft at this point. I had to bust down and start my box in Windows the other day in order to do some code evaluations that I did in order to get the job that I'm getting ready to take on. But the fact of the matter is, most of the time, I don't even use their product. Yes, there are alternatives. Yes, it is inconvenient for you to go to them at times. But is it worth it? In my opinion, so much so that I'm dropping Android as my phone platform, and I won't take on iOS because I don't support Apple any more than I support Google, right? So I'm going to go to the same platform on my phone that I'm going to on my desktop, except that it'll be the touch version of it. It'll be a touchscreen version of it and designed for phones. But in general, you just have to know that my attitude is simple. You either decide that you're going to suffer a little bit of pain and take on the entities who are trying to take away your freedom and your ability to express yourself and so forth, or you continue to live with it. And I don't think breaking those things up is the answer. I just don't think it's the answer, because what will end up happening is a bunch of woke folks will get in there and take over each of the sub-entities of the various, of what used to be the big name, the big Facebook, Twitter, whatever it happens to be. So I don't really believe in that. I'm not, by the way, telling you either that I'm not still on Twitter. I'm not telling you that I'm not on Facebook. I'm not telling you that I still don't do Microsoft stuff. I do, right? I'm not telling you that if I felt like it was a needful thing, I wouldn't start doing Apple stuff again, iOS or Mac OS 10, right? OS 10. I'm not telling you that. But what I'm telling you is, if you're not willing to suffer a little pain in order to keep yourself free, then you probably don't belong being free, and that's a scary thought, right? But the primary subject of what I'm saying today is this. It is possible to break up monopolistic, duopolistic, or whatever entities. It is. You've got to show your strength. You've got to make it so that it's very clear what's going to happen. And you've got to take the appropriate actions at the appropriate times. But it's possible. And it doesn't mean they'll just disappear or fall off the face of the earth. It means that they'll have to find ways to operate in bubbles and then pass data back and forth. That's something people have been doing for years and years. And I'll just tell you, there are some ways in which I believe that it's unfortunate that that's happening. And one example is health insurance, where there are only so many people who can be in a particular market. That's the way that ends up. Which, funnily enough, it seems to me that the government is helping to create something very, very much akin to monopolistic activities. Here's the thing, though. Here's what I want to get across to you. It is possible to break up large entities. Bemoaning the fate of those entities and saying that they're going to die if they get broken up, I'm just not buying. I'm just not believing it. They'll find ways to survive. And I have news for you. If they don't have a very stout business model. Let's just get that straight. Okay? So I believe, yes, you can do that if it's something that you feel like it's a good idea to do. Now ask me if it's a good idea. Hey, Kurt, is that a good idea? Not in my opinion as a rule. Sometimes, every once in a while, it might actually make sense. But this is one of those things that I think you have to be extremely cautious of, because people will learn to use it as a weapon. They'll weaponize it. And I don't think that's a great idea either. Well, I don't think typically breaking companies up is a great idea, as far as that goes as well. So that's kind of my take on this. Can it happen? Can those people be broken up? Will it mean the demise of the companies in question? No, it won't. In fact, it probably won't be as bad as what happened to their competition by various assaults on what they were doing. It's amazing that that competition survived. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today, or now for today, and it is As I say, Thursday the 27th of May of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Friday the 28th of May of 2021. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion Politics. I'm your host. I am Kurt. Thank you for everybody who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Remember that you can like or dislike what I do on YouTube, and that you can give me a positive or negative Rumble on Rumble if you choose to do that. You can also comment on both of those platforms. I'm trying to get back to the point where I can get my audio podcast going again. And one of these times soon, I'm hoping I'll actually start to be able to do that. I've had other things that have sort of stepped in the way. Again, today's subject has been breaking them up, and tomorrow we're going to talk about an autism subject. We're going to talk about the subject of by your rules. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you again on tomorrow's Daily Summation. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Thursday, May 27th of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that, and you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.